Barack Obama tonight responds to videotape of his pastor attacking everybody. Obama says he had no idea he worshipped at a church led by a crackpot. Is that believable? We'll tell you coming up.
It just came to me within the past few weeks, y'all, why so many folks are hating on Barack Obama. He doesn't fit the model. He ain't white, he ain't rich, and he ain't privileged. Hillary fits the mold. Barack knows what it means to be a black man living in a country and a culture that is controlled by rich white people. Hillary can never know that. Hillary ain't never been called a
That was the Reverend Jeremiah Wright. He is, of course, Barack Obama's pastor and has been for the last 20 years. After a news report recirculated some of Wright's preachings, Obama's relationship with his pastor came under more intense scrutiny this week, to put it mildly. This afternoon, Obama addressed this issue on the Huffington Post. He wrote this, among other things, quote, "The sermons I heard him preach always related to our obligation to love God and one another, to work on behalf of the poor, and to seek justice at every turn. The statements that Reverend Wright made that are the cause of this controversy were not statements I personally heard him preach while I sat in the pews of Trinity or heard him utter in private conversation." Does anyone believe Barack Obama? Has he effectively responded to this issue? Joining me now, Associate Editor of The Hill, A.B. Stoddard, and columnist for the L.A. Times, Rosa Brooks. Rosa, I think you have affection for Obama. Don't we all in the affluent, well-educated white community? It's hard, and I want to believe
That was
him.
so mean.
No, it's not mean. I like Obama, actually. And I like him because he seems the antithesis of Jeremiah Wright. I just have trouble believing that a guy who he himself, Obama, has described as that close, almost member of the family, baptizer of his child, may have married them, person he's given a lot of money to. He had no idea that he had these views? That's hard to believe.
You know, I think he saw him in the church context. He wasn't seeing him in his other manifestations. And I think he's been pretty clear. He said, this stuff is yucky. This has got no place. I don't agree with it.
Yeah, I think look, I don't like McCarthyism in any of its forms. And I always want to give people the benefit of the doubt when their friends do creepy things. Always, because we all have criminal friends, or at least I do, and I'm proud to say that. And I'm not responsible for their crimes. But it's just, again, do you buy this?
I have bought into the fact that Barack Obama is one really smart dude, and it's very hard for me to believe that he didn't know this about him. And all the times he attended church and spent time with this man, possibly prayed with this man baptized their daughters and married them, and he gave him a leadership position or a title in his campaign, that he didn't know that Jeremiah Wright has said things repeatedly that are anti-Israel, anti-white, and anti-American. He's kind of run the table. I think. But I want to finish, which is that Obama's rule is that you offend and you're gone, and he needs to live and die by that rule. He has given himself no flexibility. Hillary Clinton allows someone associated with her campaign to offend people, and she lets it go through 3 days and 49 news cycles, and then maybe something happens. Barack Obama's rule is, if you offend and call someone a monster, you are gone. And these are groups that will take offense to what Jeremiah Wright has said.
Here's the problem with Barack Obama laying down the law on this, as he did today on the Huffington Post. If he's telling the truth, and we can't discover otherwise, that's fine, this may work. But you're going to have reporters at this very moment looking, and we know when that speech was the week after 9/11. They're going to find out if Obama was there. They're going to try and match.
Probably sitting in church and not listening.
No, but that's what
I tell you people that. But I have heard of people who go to church and don't.
Well, that's because they're going to Methodist churches or Episcopal churches where some weedy old guy is reading out of Psalms. If you have some guy up there saying America's terrible, the white man created AIDS, you're going to hear it.
I mean, I think there are two things here. One, I think obviously at this point, Barack Obama, Wright is a distraction for his campaign. I think there's no question about it. He does not need this. He does. What is he? He serves in some position like Geraldine Ferraro. It's largely honorary, but frankly, his campaign is better off saying, Reverend Wright, thanks, but no thanks. But I do think, however, that there is a distinction that ought to be drawn. There are all kinds of nuts in this country.
Yes.
There are all kinds of nuts who support all kinds of people. And one of the things that I'm sure you guys get the same thing. You write something and you get people who write and say, I completely agree with you because, and then they write something that you just think, oh my God, you agree with me?
Right.
Because you're a maniac and I don't want your agreement, but there's not much you can do about that. But I actually think we should draw a distinction here between Wright and the Ferraro kind of situation. What Wright said was several years ago, it wasn't a tax on Hillary Clinton. What Ferraro said was now, and it was a tax directly on Barack Obama. That doesn't change my view that probably Barack Obama's campaign should say thanks but no thanks.
He attacked Hillary Clinton, and the Clintons said they did to America what Bill did to Monica Lewinsky, et cetera, which is, I think, clever enough that he should get a pass for that. I don't think he should be criticized for that in any way. But I personally think, we're replaying this in cable news all day, every hour, and this just gets right to the appeal of Barack Obama. This is exactly what everyone doesn't want Obama to be. They want him to be a sort of pan-racial, above-race. They don't want Jesse Jackson to scare the hell out of people. No?
Yes, and the thing is, it doesn't matter if Hillary quit the race tonight. This is going to be fodder for John McCain's campaign. I mean, he has said pro-Palestine, anti-American, anti-white. I mean, you can call it black liberation teachings, but it's offensive, and Barack Obama's association with him is not in passing. It's a close association over a period of years. Whether or not he was paying attention in church or he never heard that, he knows Tony Resco was a bad guy, and he knows Jeremiah Wright pops off and says these things. It's very dangerous for him to retain him in any position on his campaign, even though it's honorary.
Can I just respond to one matter of substance that the Reverend Wright brought up? He says, Barack Obama is very different because he's not white, and he's not privileged, he's not rich. Let's put out that he is, in fact, rich and privileged. He went to an elite prep school. He went to Columbia. He went to Harvard Law School. He lives in a mansion. I'm not criticizing any of those things. I think they're great. But it's hard to kind of pretend you're a son of the streets when that's your background, isn't it?
I don't think Barack Obama's pretending
he's not. No, but I don't think he is either. I don't think Barack Obama's that phony.
I think AB's point is absolutely right. I actually think that Obama can turn this into sort of a teaching moment if he handles it right. That I think that what he should do is he should say thanks but no thanks, Reverend Wright, for your support, and this is not something I want in my campaign. Vote for me. That would be great. I value all the many useful things you've taught me, and I think he can turn into one where he says, Americans, let's face the fact there is a lot of black anger. I'm aware of that. Nobody's going to deny that, but I do reject that as we need to transcend that. We need to take the energy, the anger about injustice, which is real, and there is real injustice, but we need to turn that into something constructive and turn away from the politics that's just the politics of resentment here. And that's what his campaign is about.
If he can pull it off successfully, he'll be president, because that will be a genius turn, I think. As we go out, gunfire. We're at a temporary Israeli army encampment probably about a kilometer south of the Lebanese border. It's right over that hill to my left. There are a number of tanks here, I think about 5, and they're firing 155 millimeter rounds, they say, on mobile Hezbollah units that are right just at the very southern part of Lebanon. There are some unknown number of Israeli forces, the hundreds, maybe the thousands, and they are calling in real time back with information on the location of Hezbollah units. These tank crews behind me are then trying to hit them with the tank rounds. We can vouch for the fact that there really are Hezbollah units over there because they were firing Katyusha rockets right over our car as we drove here. We saw them streaking pretty slowly across the sky. You really get a sense of the difference in technology. These Israeli munitions, some of them are made here. I think some of them are made in the United States. They're high-tech. The Katyushas, meanwhile, some of the Katyushas look literally homemade, like giant fireworks streaking through the sky.
Tucker is sponsored in part by Thomasville.